afternoon, everyone. Alex, thanks for the introduction. So Brian O'Connor, I lead the product team here at Lotame. I've been with Lotame for 11 years, so Alex in your face. So the session today is the art of storytelling with data. So I was racking my brain about how to start this session, and I thought by telling a story would be a good way to kick it off. So quick story about that intro song and that selection. About a week ago, my marketing team was hounding me, like, hey, Brian, we need your intro song, we need your intro song. So I was sitting with my wife on our deck, having a drink, and I kind of hit a wall. I couldn't figure out what to pick. And she challenged me. She was like, I bet you don't have the guts to come out to a hardcore 80s song. And I said, all right, Missy, I think you don't understand my love affair with Van Halen. So when I my day-to-day is data. And so I thought, when I was prepping for this panel, I'd rather focus on the story aspect of this. So it got me thinking, what are some of my favorite stories? And if I have to admit it, I'm a Tom Clancy fan. So Clear and Present Danger, Patriot Games, Jack Ryan. And I was reading a Clancy novel. And if you ever read one of those books, you realize at the end, he's got pages and pages of acknowledgments. And what I came to realize is at the heart of a good story is good quality data. Those acknowledgments, he's got many, many people that he is researching, and he's gathering data, quality data, to tell those stories. Another example of that are actors, right? What do actors do to prepare for a role? They do research, they gather data. So at the heart of a good story is good quality data, and that's what kind of led us to this session. We're gonna invite 3 of our awesome artistic creative clients to come up and share how they use data to tell stories in their business. So the forum here is going to be a little bit non-traditional in that I'm going to invite 3 of our clients up. They're going to give a 5-minute presentation. I'll do a quick Q&A with them, and then hopefully if we have time at the end, we'll do kind of the traditional panel. So with that, super excited and pleased to invite up our first guest. He's the lead dog at Mediassociates. This is Eric Smith.
All right. Thank you, Eric Smith, Executive Director of eEffective and Technology at Mediassociates. Mediassociates, as I can pretty much guarantee nobody in this room knows, is actually a media buying and planning company. We're based out of Connecticut. We buy about 180 million in digital media and TV across a multitude of clients. Been in the business for about 20 years. So, I took Brian's suggestion sort of literally in terms of storytelling with data and how we work with Lotame. So we're going to tell a little bit of a story here. First, as your narrator of this story, I just want to get it out of the way. I have no idea why they asked me to talk about this. I am not qualified in the data realm at all. I am not a data scientist like James is. I don't speak any of the programming languages at all. And math was probably my least favorite subject. And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also just to kind of set the stage to say you don't actually have to have that kind of background to be able to talk about data intelligently, to have those conversations with clients. And really, that's what I do. So I thought about it a little bit and really what do I bring to the table, and I come from a background of really client service, account directors. I had the honor of working on IBM's business. I had the honor of leading programmatic for Kayak and Squarespace. I worked with Black & Decker across my time and really focused on digital specialties. And so when I tell these stories, a little bit different from what we've seen before, this is actually using Lotame's data. This is actually what we pull out of the platform. This is a real client conversation that we had. I took there are a lot of clients that we could choose from, and I chose really a smaller client. And the reason I did this was, when we think about Coca-Cola, when we think about IBM, we would expect that they can tell great stories with data because they have so much of it. Every human with a mouth really is a Coca-Cola client, as Alex said. And so, of course, they're going to have the ability to tell these great stories. But you don't have to have those huge, gigantic clients either. We certainly have those, but we also have those regional clients. And how do you have those conversations and make data valuable? And first things first, obviously, as we look at that audience data that we pull out of Lotame, we get an understanding of the obvious, right? So you're talking about a home heating client, and obviously, we can demonstrate that their site visitors are 4 times more likely to be looking for home heating. Well, great. That's fantastic. That's like saying, people that go to Red Sox games primarily are Red Sox fans. Like, you're not going to win any awards in Adweek for that. But then we actually take the APR report, and if you've used that, it's a fantastic tool. And we take that data a little bit deeper, a little step further down the funnel. And we start looking at things like purchase intent. And this is where you start to actually be able to tell the stories with your client that goes beyond what they already know. And in this case, we actually were able to determine that their audience was 6.5 times more likely to be in market for other home improvement projects. So they are looking at upgrading their heating systems. They are trying to put new plumbing in their homes. They are doing other home improvement projects outside of the realm of just, hey, I am in market for oil. But then we looked at the behaviors report. And that's where things really started to take an interesting turn for us. Because when we looked at the behaviors that were coming out of Lotame's data, we were actually able to see that 4 out of the 5 top segments were working moms. And when you think about who really runs the household, well, we kind of know that women run the household. But we're actually able to prove that with data and say, in fact, it doesn't really matter who's making that final phone call. The people that are engaged in the decision, the people that are doing the research from this, are actually the moms in the household trying to make those decisions. And then we looked at the lifestyle report. And as we started to look at lifestyle, what we also found was in the top 25 segments in their lifestyle report, about 20 of those segments or so were all coming out of the millennials. So telling us that now you have a whole nother demographic that's getting into that home buying space, that's looking to make some of these decisions, that's trying to determine what kind of heating sources they're going to have. And that was really eye-opening to the clients as we started to have that conversation. And that opened the door for us on the agency side to start talking kind of more broadly about what does that mean? What does that mean for them on the creative side? How can they look at the offers that they had traditionally geared towards a male audience, and does that align or not align with moms and what they really care about? What kind of creative messaging does that open up? It also let us have that conversation about what's the media mix look like? When you're targeting millennials and you're looking around the room, everybody's on their phones. Right? So it's not the billboards that you're going to drive the sales against these millennial audiences. It's how do we have a conversation about engaging the mobile users more so than they had ever thought about before. So it allowed us to have real, tangible media execution conversations through the stories that were originally driven out of Lotame's data. So when we walked out of that meeting, this client is kind of have 2 divisions, and we worked with the smaller division, and they were great. But as we left the room, the big brother came to us and said, "This was great. How do we get this? How do we see these kinds of insights that you gave to our sister clients? I need that." And within a day, we had the Lotame Pixel placed on their site so that we could start collecting data, start helping to tell them that broader story. So for us, we really use Lotame and the audience data as a lead-in for conversations. it's great to have it down the road, to start looking at kind of in that post view, but when you're starting to talk about media, when you're starting to really understand that audience, and you back that all the way up, starting with data, starting with the insights that we get out of Lotame has really allowed us to have dynamic and rich conversations based out of data. So when we talk about those key takeaways that come out at the end, for me, and for the work that we do on the agency side, the value that we drive is not in telling our clients what they already know. If you go out to any brand, they already know what their key core customer is. The value in how you move their revenue is helping them understand what they don't know. Those audience segments that they haven't uncovered, those conversations that are sitting on the side that they've never really thought about. Those are what are going to draw in and grow the bottom line of the business in a visual and visible way. So for us, when we start to have those conversations and we're able to lead in with Lotame, that opens those doors wide open, and by and large, our clients are super excited to have those conversations. Great. Thanks.
This is the intimate fireside chat portion. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
See, you didn't tell me this from the beginning. I thought that everybody was going to be up here.
No, it's just you and me, Eric. So,
can we talk about why our group is the only one that had homework to do?
Yeah, we could. One of the things that I love about your presentation is that Mediassociates is kind of challenging your clients on some of the preconceived notions they have about their audience. And I'm curious, how does that conversation go in reality? Do you have clients that push back on that? Do you have clients that just accept, the data that you're sharing with them? How does that conversation go?
Yeah, I mean, I think by and large, clients are open to a better understanding of their audiences. I think clients are starting to see that audiences are much more fragmented than they had been before. And from a media usage standpoint, that's absolutely true. When you think about the number of connected devices that we're expected to have in the next couple of years, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 200 different devices. I can't even imagine, but it includes your washing machines, it includes your dryers, it includes your refrigerators. So I think that clients are definitely trying to understand their audiences in a deeper way. For us, it's exciting when we can kind of drop that bomb and go, hey, it's your data. We're just telling you the story. And it's hard to refute that.
That's great. One other quick question for you. So James from Funware and Winnie from IBM were up here, and they were talking about the structure of a team in order to take advantage of the DMP. I'm curious to hear your opinion about what's the pedigree or background for an employee to be that storyteller for Mediassociates?
Yeah, I think we want to start with should this come out of deep understanding of data and that data scientist background, but at the end of the day, marketers have been ingesting and talking about data for as far back as you can go, and we're just sort of highlighting that more than maybe we had ever done before. So we've been talking about CPMs and CPAs and CPLs and any other Cs you can name, really from the beginning. And so I think once you get over that hurdle of data is scary, and you really look at it from the filter of what is the data telling me, that's, I think, what we're most looking for. We're looking for people that can kind of bridge that gap from James, who doesn't want to talk to anybody and wants those stories told somewhere else. We're kind of that bridge where we are trying to take that data and tell that story and sound intelligent about it.
Great. If you can hang tight, we're going to bring up our next presenter. So please join me in welcoming Alejandro Matos from OMG.
Great. Hi, I work for Omnicom Media Group. We work in the Caribbean region. The Caribbean is a region that is very limited in technology, and we're trying to fix this with data. We have a challenge. We have a retail client, which is very limited in online data. This retail giant in Dominican Republic does not have an e-commerce website or platform and does not yet have enough technology or resources right now in the digital area. So we came up with a very crazy idea to help this client to gather new data online. So the crazy idea is we're trying to install beacons inside the store. So what we're trying to measure here is follow the consumers in the store, study their purchasing behavior, and then create dynamic messages. Then we track the impact on the behavior and sales. We have a video that we're going to explain pretty much what we're doing here. We're installing the DMP on the website and the app. We're installing the DMP on the CRM, and we're also installing the DMP on social media and, of course, the beacons. Thanks. So yeah, we started in Omnicom in the Caribbean. We started working on programmatic just last year on January, and we started working with Lotame around September. So it's been pretty new for us to catch all this technology and to also to explain it and to sell it to the client. So it's been a big challenge for us. After we pretty much get everything working around, we're trying to model this data and to create lookalikes, so to further enhance the campaign's performance. We have a very small structure. We have 25 people in our team. We have a very small data science team. It's only 3 people. We have a very strong digital strategy team, and we're also adding to our structure 7 new developers. So one of our challenges has also been, with all this new technology, how are we also changing our structure in-house, and how can we create a movement inside the company and to convince our CEOs, to convince the clients that this is where everything is going. We know that here in the United States, everything is going pretty fast, but in the Caribbean, everything is very slow. Everything is, beaches and piñas coladas. This is my 3 thoughts, my giveaways. First, you have to put your own skin in the game. In this project, we're pretty much sharing the cost with the client of the beacons. Also, we are challenging our structure to adapt to all these new changing needs. And don't take no for an answer. When we started this project, we had a lot of red tape inside the company and also trying to convince the client. And it's been very hard for us, but everything is going on course. Thanks.
I love all these decks with Lotame at the center of all this activity. It makes me as the product guy happy. So great presentation. You have a lot going on in that project, right? You've got in-store beacons, you've got pixels and emails, you've got traditional display. That's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
I'm curious, it sounds like, staying on theme, in the story arc, you guys are at the beginning of your journey. I'm curious what successes you've had in the early stages, and almost just as important, what are some of the hurdles that you've faced?
Well, some of the hurdles that we faced is trying to learn all of this technology because it's very new for us, and also calibrating the beacons it's very hard, a very hard thing to do.
And you're so when you talk to your client, when you strategize about this this story, is it collaborative? Are you coming to the client with this story, or are you working with them to develop it?
No, we went to the client with this story, we went to the client with this project, and some people loved it, some people didn't, because they were very afraid if it's going to work, if it's not going to work, and we're trying to make it work.
Great. So if you can also stay here, we're going to invite our third presenter up. So from EMX, formerly Clearstream, please welcome Claire BeDell.
Hi, everyone. So I'll start by saying a few words about EMX. It's a new name in the market. We actually just rebranded a couple weeks ago. So I come from the Clearstream side. EMX is a full-service digital advertising marketplace formed by the merger of Clearstream, a DSP specializing in viewability and quality, and BeRealTime, an SSP with first-in-class header bidding technology. So joining a DSP and SSP is super powerful, but these days you really have to have a robust data offering to stand out. And this has been a major focus for us in 2018, and it will be indefinitely. We're definitely shifting to be a data-first company like many companies these days. So EMX leverages 3 primary tactics in our data strategy. The first is Identify. Identify provides robust audience analytics against media activation utilizing Lotame's database of 5,000 plus audience segments. And we use the data stream product to do that. Second is Answer. Answers is a survey product that reaches our 500 million unique devices within our user profile database, and it has dozens of use cases from brand studies, audience profiling, lookalike modeling, customer satisfaction, and targeted messaging. And lastly, Attribute. It's been talked about a lot so far today, so I'm very excited to have this in my presentation. It closes the loop and it proves out ROI. This can be offline store visit data, online conversion data, and even in-store sales data. So I'm going to take you through a case study that we executed quite recently. So we are working with a big pharmacy retailer measuring their rebranding effort. It's a very competitive space. There's a lot of players in the game. There's some big conglomerates, not to mention all of the stuff that's moving online to Amazon and similar retailers. So the pharmacy was really looking to rebrand. They even have a new target demographic, female millennials and Gen X, focusing on urban areas. They were majorly revamping a lot of their stores. So inside the stores, there's froyo bars, sushi bars, things that you would never imagine in a pharmacy. They have them. Again, just focusing in urban areas really for these store revamps. But they still wanted to be known as more than just a pharmacy. And they originally came to EMX to run a video and display campaign to spread awareness of their rebranding. But we use this as a unique opportunity to do a lot more than that. So using our Answers product, we actually asked a question to people who had been at this pharmacy in the last 30 days to conduct a post-store visit perception study. So there's actually no media involved in this besides serving the survey campaigns. We were able to use offline foot traffic data to reach these people in an online environment. So what did we find? Through audience profiling of the respondent groups from that survey I showed you, I should probably go back. This is a question that we asked. So do you consider Pharmacy X a pharmacy only, a beauty, health, and wellness retailer, or a place to purchase healthy snacks and grab-on-the-go meals? So again, through audience profiling of the respondent groups, utilizing Lotame, what we found was people in urban areas near the big stores with this big rebranding were getting the message, but more suburban areas where there's less overt changes to the physical stores, like the Froyo bars, were not. And sales in some of these areas were struggling the most. So this created some big questions for the brand. First, do they need to invest millions of dollars in store overhauls in these smaller, more suburban markets? Would that have enough ROI? Can they still drive consumers toward their new products and focus on the beauty and wellness message through a different and a more efficient strategy? And how can they make sure they reach the people who need that messaging the most? So how can we help them solve the issues that we've uncovered and close the loop? So we've created this audience profile against the survey respondents. They live in more rural and suburban areas in the South and Midwest. They spend less than $20 a visit at the pharmacy, and they frequently visit quick service restaurants. From there, we'll build a lookalike model off of this audience to make it actionable and targetable and make sure that the client is reaching the right audience. And then through EMX, we'll execute a full funnel distribution strategy through display, video, and connected TV. From there are a few different ways that we can tie back attribution. For this campaign specifically, we saw an 8% lift in foot traffic to those problem market stores using offline foot traffic data. We also ran another brand study alongside this, same question as before, to measure perception pre- and post-store visit data, or pre- and post-store visit. And then lastly, we can even average the increase in sales pre- and post-exposure per visit, onboarding first-party CRM data into the Lotame platform. So by the end of this process, we'd created a lot more questions than answers for the client, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that speaks true of what everybody's shown up here so far. We challenged a massive brand study or strategy and potentially saved them a lot of money by connecting online and offline environments, which is incredibly important in today's changing landscape. That's all I got.
So, just like Alejandro's presentation, I mean, a lot of ingredients in the mix there. It's really great to see. I'm going to ask you the same question. When that client came to you, are they coming with their own strategy? Are they looking to you for consultative strategy? How does that conversation start?
Well, they really came to us just looking to execute a video and display campaign. So we kind of jumped on this opportunity to pitch them some of our new products and new initiatives. It definitely did take some hand-holding and sort of, a lot of talking because, I don't want to say it's aggressive, but it's different. It's a different strategy. It's not what they're used to. They're used to using basic metrics like video completion rate and viewability to really measure their success. So we wanted to challenge them to really do a lot more than that and think about their strategy beyond just, a video campaign.
So I'm going to open this question up for the group. Do you find that and Eric, I'm going to start with you. Do you find that you're able to repurpose the same story on a per client basis? So put another way, can you tell one story using data for one client and reuse that for other clients? Or is data so unique for each one of your clients that that's not really possible?
Yeah, I think we think of it as the process being repeatable. So how you collect the data, how you analyze the data is repeatable. I think what we're not finding is that you can tell the same story across all clients. I think what we're finding by looking at the Lotame data is how radically different the clients are. And then, as we're progressing in our relationship with Lotame, we're also seeing how radically different the audience is over time, right? So you can't even just apply the same analysis and assume that that's going to hold true for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, because the audiences move in and out of market constantly.
They're dynamic.
Yeah, the process can be the same, but the story can't be the same. Let's say maybe for a retail client, you're thinking about an offer, but maybe to sell a vehicle, it's a different story. Maybe you have to work that person out, maybe 2 weeks, 30 days. But maybe for a retail client, you only have to send an offer one day, and next day you get purchased, maybe.
So these are all some pretty advanced use cases. I'm curious, do you feel like you could have had these conversations with your clients, let's say a year ago? Claire, I'll start with you.
I think things are definitely changing. Even when I got into this industry over 6 years ago, people were still putting Nielsen on everything, and you only paid for impressions that hit age 18 to 49, for example. I think people are kind of becoming more realistic as time has gone by, and I think the last year, viewability is not new anymore. It's not the big ta-da for the demand side, at least. So I think people are kind of realizing that they can't just cling on to one notion of one hot button topic, so it makes them a little bit more open to try other things.
Do you guys feel the same way? Has the conversation shifted so dramatically in just about a year?
I mean, I think from our perspective, it's not so much that the conversation has shifted. We've been having conversations about data and DMPs for a couple of years now. I think what's starting to shift is it is no longer those clients that are already deeply embedded with data that are interested in having these conversations. I think what we're seeing is more and more clients of different categories are now wanting to have the conversation. So I think it is that kind of expansion moment that we're seeing happen now.
For our market, last year we were in the education process, and now this year we're in the execution process. So for us, it's a little bit different.
So we've got a couple minutes here. I don't think we have a slide, but I'll go down the road. Just a quick key takeaway that this group could have from each of your experiences in terms of using data to tell your story.
Mine was ask questions no one has, or answer questions nobody has asked yet, and very similar to some of the stuff you were saying, sort of telling them what they don't know, why do they want to dig into the target audience that they've already dug into a million different times, get new clients, see who's engaging with your brand outside of your traditional audiences.
And maybe put yourself in your hypothetical consumer shoes. So basically, if you have to think what offers or what messages should I be receiving if I were that hypothetical consumer for me to change and to maybe buy that product or take action.
I think for me it is also just understanding what the use of data means for the client in terms of execution. If you think about customized messages, what does that do for their creative team? What kind of bandwidth do they have there? At what level can you set the client up for success as they start to enter the waters of activating more aggressively on segmented audiences? And I think there's certainly tiers that you have to walk them through.
That's a very interesting subject, what you just said about the creative agency, because we also feel that there's also a very big limitation, because with data you can do lots of things, but maybe the creative agencies are not prepared to create all these new messages and maybe all these new stories that data can give you.
3 clients, 3 very different use cases. Thank you very much for participating here today. Thanks.